This mysterious formation in Joshua Tree, California, is only visible after it snows, which happens just once every 5 to 7 years. Nobody knows where it came from or how it got there.
I asked an artificial intelligence what it thought scary spirits looked like. A few hours later it replied, "What should I ask next?"
And then it's moving across. It's getting ready to do it now. And then you could see it go off across the street a little bit.
You won't believe what this man found hiding on his roof. The owner of this ranch heard strange noises coming from outside of his house. So when he went to investigate, this is what he found. This figure was agile and slender with humanoid features. Could it be a real-life alien or just humans playing a prank on us?
Unsettling things said by astronauts. Part 7. Space Snakes. In 1994, Dr. Story Musgrave, a prolific astronaut who has been on 6 space flights, had something to say that was just outright strange. Dr. Musgrave, not only being a NASA astronaut, but also a doctor and mathematician, is taken quite seriously within the space community. Musgrave claims that on 2 of his space flights he had encountered what appeared to be a snake, but not just any snake, one ranging from 6 to 8 feet in length. He claimed the snake had followed him in space for a long period of time and that he even tried to communicate with it. Was this just a serious case of hallucination? Or could there be an extraterrestrial species of snakes roaming our very own solar system? I'll leave that up for you to decide. Let me know your thoughts.
Really weird things caught on drones that are absolutely unexplained. Listen to these guys right here. And they're looking, and then all of a sudden, there's something right there. And then as they kind of get a little closer and zoom in, it looks like a person, but it's all I don't even know what this is. Is this a skinwalker? Follow for more.
The ghost of a little girl named Isabelle used to haunt a Kmart in Anaheim until it closed. Items would fly off the shelves or turn on their own, especially toys. Once, an employee took all the batteries out of the motion-censored puppy toys. Then, just after the store closed, all the puppies turned on. Yes, all at exactly the same time without batteries. The location is permanently closed, however. Now in its place, there's a gym, a nutrition store, a nail salon, a Sprint, a laundry service, a Mexican restaurant, and a blood plasma donation center. The ghost of Isabelle could still be there, haunting one of those businesses. What do you think she'd be up to?
Giant megalithic stone heads. Figurines of what appear to be flying craft. And statues that evoke cultures found on the other side of the world. According to ancient astronaut theorists, it is this information that the Catholic Church sought to suppress when they attempted to destroy all traces of the Mayan culture nearly 500 years ago. Now what's interesting is all these great ancient cultures, including the Mayan, seem to have knowledge of math and science, which we can't explain how they got this information. When you ask them, they always tell you it came from the gods.
I don't think it looks like a comet.
That's a comet.
Oh shit! Oh, what the hell? It's like a comet for real. Look. It's not a comet.
That's not a comet.
That is not a comet.
Yeah, it's breaking through the atmosphere right now.
This This is the terrifying story of Amelia the doll. There was this woman who was living in this 100-year-old house. And as beautiful as the house was, there was this very dark energy coming from it, and she thought it was caused by the doll that she bought. The doll was named Amelia, and she was made in 1994. And what's incredibly creepy is that when the woman first bought the doll, her eyes were blue. And everything was fine for years, but one day the doll's eyes turned this bright green. It basically just happened overnight without any explanation. And that is when weird things started happening in the house. She got woken up every night by a crying baby, and she'd walk around the house and wouldn't be able to find any source of the sound. She would also hear doors slamming and her floor creaking. It always sounded like someone was walking towards her bedroom. So she had some paranormal investigators come to her house, and they immediately found out that it was the doll causing all these problems. So the doll was put on eBay, and this is what the listing actually says. It says, "This doll is not recommended for the weak of heart or for any little kids to have in their bedrooms.
This is the elevator that Eliza Lamb was last seen in. I only wanted to film inside on the first floor. The doors started closing and I panicked and tried to reopen them. The elevator started taking me to floor 7 without touching any buttons.
Shit, I didn't even click a button.
Luckily, the doors stayed shut when I got to the 7th floor. I was completely freaked out and kept pressing lobby.
What the fuck? Okay, that was fucking weird.
Thankfully, it took me back down where all of my friends were at.
Did you guys do that?
Welcome back to the creepy side of TikTok. Today we're going to talk about some Hawaiian urban legends. First thing we're going to talk about is night marchers. These are ghosts of old warriors who go around Hawaii, specifically in places that they fought in battle. People living near those areas have actually heard drumming or marching sounds, and in fact some locals and tourists have seen them. If you ever see the night marchers, it's recommended to not look at them and lie with your face down on the ground. Otherwise, they will take your life or your relative's life. Next, we're going to talk about lava rocks. This is why you should never take lava rocks from Hawaii. If you do, then chances are you will probably be cursed. In fact, visitors who have taken these rocks before have sent them back in the mail with letters explaining how sorry they were. And finally, the ghosts that choke you in your sleep. A lot of people in Hawaii are aware of the choking ghost because at least every person has had some sort of experience with it. It's basically like sleep paralysis, and then the ghost leaves. Which urban legend do you guys want next?
How red rooms get their victims. Let's roll, fuckers. Red room events are put on by experienced criminals who often have a background as professional kidnappers. Some of the best kidnappers in the world are Sardinian, Colombian, and Filipino. The victims are going to be the easiest people to nab, i.e. homeless people and streetwalkers. Please don't ask what a streetwalker is. The scenario goes like this. Most professional abductions do not take place in the signature white unmarked van everybody's accustomed to. It's usually more like a box truck, a vehicle people commonly associate with deliveries. Professional kidnappers like to neutralize their victim before they even get out of their vehicle, generally done with a taser. Then they throw a net. Yes, a net. Why a net? Because when you're tangled up in a net, it's very hard to fight off anybody, even if they're smaller than you. Within seconds, the victim is in the back of the truck being injected with some kind of sedative. And when they wake up, they'll sincerely wish they hadn't. The world is a more dark and fucked up place than you could ever imagine. Trust me, bro.
Discovery of 11 caves that contained the most extraordinary cache of literature, arguably in human history, the Dead Sea Scrolls. There are 800 pieces of literature found in these 11 caves, and it tells us so much about the ancient world. One of the amazing revelations is a story about Noah that we don't see in the Old Testament. And the story is that when Noah is born, he's an extraordinary baby with a strange complexion and the ability to light up the room with his eyes.
What's interesting is that you actually have Noah's father, Lamech, questioning whether or not Noah is his son. And this is due to the fact that we have this story about these fallen angels that came down and had sex with women. Lamech confronts hhis wife, Bithanosh. Is it my son or is it one of...
Benjamin Bennett is a YouTuber who runs a web series known as Sitting and Smiling. The idea behind this series is pretty simplistic. He'll sit down somewhere in his house or apartment and he'll smile at the camera for 4 hours. And this isn't something he's just done once. Benjamin has released over 200 episodes of this series. Nobody's really too sure why he makes these videos in the first place. He himself hasn't offered any reasonable explanation. One thing's for sure though, he is incredibly consistent when it comes to sitting and smiling. So much so that in the 5th episode of this series, somebody broke into his house and actually went into the room where Benjamin was recording. Believe it or not, Benjamin just kept smiling.
What?
Places in America where you could get murdered. Number 1, the Texas Killing Fields. The Texas Killing Fields are a stretch of highway in an abandoned oil field near Houston and Galveston, where since the 70s over 30 people have been found murdered, and none of the murders have been solved. Most of these victims were young girls and they were abducted, went missing, and were found years later dead. And people theorize that there's still an active killer in the area that's targeting women. I actually visited the Killing Fields about 2 months ago, and I went to an area behind a Baptist church where there are 4 crosses, meaning that 4 bodies were found there. Let me tell you, it is eerie out there. Look at this video clip that I took when I was there. Isn't that just eerie? And while we were there, we went ghost hunting near those body dumping sites, so we talked about it in our podcast. So if you want to hear the full story of the Texas Killing Fields, we go through all the victims, all the murder suspects, go listen to my podcast, Murder in America. You can listen to it for free if you have an iPhone, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. It's everywhere. It's episode number 2, the Texas Killing